Ahead of the 60th ACI Financial Markets Association World Congress in Paris on November the 17th, in association with the Full FX, hence why I'm here, I'm delighted to be joined by Ben Tobin, who is Head of Portfolio Optimization at Capitolis, and will be speaking on our post-trade panel, the new hotbed of innovation. Ben, thanks for taking the time to speak to me today. I thought it would be interesting to sort of set the scene for our panel by discussing what's happening in the capital optimization space at the moment. A lot of regulations have come in. Do we feel that 2022, I guess, will be the year in which the whole industry finally understood the importance of capital efficiency?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it needs to be said that ourselves and pretty much all our clients, that they do believe and they stand behind the regulations.
Yeah.
On the back of the financial crisis, regulators have really tried to relook at the fundamentals of the financial system so that we don't have to bail out any banks again. And they've put together these very effective regulations to shrink, to shrink the overall economies of the larger banks, really, particularly from a credit perspective. And they've done that through reducing leverage and, trying to get more stuff done off the balance sheet, reducing that sort of activity, to create a safer financial system. But in the last few years, especially this year, I think the impact has really finally been felt and understood. And we have clients that are exploring many different ways to manage and control the costs under not only the new regulations, but the old regulations haven't gone away either.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about the new SACA regulation, which is the first real regulation that puts foreign exchange front and center. When you look at regulation before, sometimes FX wasn't involved, some instruments were. But with SACA, if you have a credit counterparty that's uncollateralized, then they are the biggest generator of capital costs for you. So I think it's not finally come to the market, but finally come to the FX market.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're having to model their counterparty exposures and take massive change to redesign systems, really. And on top of that, they've got UMR. The UMR threshold keeps coming down. We're now at 8 billion, which is putting quite a lot of thousands of client accounts having to post margin. So I think it's fair to say that the regulation has finally hit home in the FX market, Colin.
And how challenging has the environment become for major players in the FX market then? I mean, I guess we can't put a degree of scale on it, but has it become a much more challenging environment over the past 2-3 years?
Yeah, I would say over the last 6 months to a year, even, it's certainly become a part of the overall focus of the risk of the resource management of every bank. Banks tell us, that they never really considered FX. It was just something that was happening alongside. But now it's, as I said, it's front and center, and they really have to redesign their thinking and their whole processes to include it in all their previous optimization runs, as well as their, the new optimization that they need to do for SACA. Yeah. So, it's putting a strain on the amount of capacity, particularly in some businesses. It's put a strain on resources. Banks aren't really hiring people, quite the opposite, unfortunately, at times. And resources to get anything done, it's a question of priorities. It can also affect what banks will trade in, if it's going to affect the capital or funding costs going forward, and how much they can trade. And so I would say that it's really started to affect banks' line of business and what are the products they're going to be offering, because they're aware and know that they have to manage those capital costs and those funding costs a lot more closely than they've ever had to before.
So the theme of our panel is innovation. So at a higher level, then, it sounds to me like it's a very dynamic and evolving environment. What is Capitolis doing to sort of help alleviate some of these challenges?
Well, we aim to help the banks become more efficient in their use of capital. I mean, we automate and deliver on balance sheet efficiencies across many different workflows. So when people talk about optimization, they often talk about just dealer to dealer, the interbank market. But in FX, with a lot of the UMR and a lot of the SACA costs are coming from the interbank, from the dealer to client. So there's hedge funds, there's real money, there's corporate, there's agency trades. And so we're looking to optimize the capital for all FX flows using whatever methods are available to us. So, we've gained strong momentum in our SACA run, sort of doubling the number of banks, and we kind of expect to double that within the next 6 months as well. But we have a regular, frequent cadence of compression runs. But in there, we will optimize for whatever a bank wishes to optimize for. So if you want to optimize for SACA, if you want to optimize for persistent SACA, so much longer dated, you want to optimize for gross, you want to optimize for net, you want to optimize for whatever capital constraint you're under, we're looking to put it all in one. So we have a multilateral, multi-metric focus. And we're also, a lot of the reasons why banks don't involve themselves and don't go ahead is the resource and the time overhead. And so we've really focused on reducing the amount of resource required to bring these efficiencies to bear. And we very recently looked to do a 1-day optimization. Most optimizations are 2-3 days, but purely for SACA, we're getting all the data in, we're ensuring that it's clean, we're publishing results, and then we're booking the trades all on the first day. And I think that's the way the market's going towards. I think it happens a lot with IM as well. So we're delivering on all these different funding and capital costs, but we're also really focused on trying to reduce the amount of resources the clients have. And you talk about innovation. We are in an innovative company, and as a result, banks come to us with their problems and see if we can sort them. We can't sort them all, unfortunately, but the most recent one, which I think a lot of people know about, was the Russian ruble settlement, where we continue to this day to optimize. Our first run actually was a significant charitable contribution to the humanitarian effort in the Ukraine, and was broadly and hugely supported by many banks. But there's still an issue around getting ruble off the books, and then we'll get requests around other sort of non-CLS currencies. But whenever there's an issue that the banks have, they do call us, and we tend to look to solve it either on a bilateral basis or on a multilateral basis. We have a good network, so we'll call others in, and that there is actually a lot of willingness with banks to help other banks, which may surprise those that look at the culture as a bit more ruthless. But if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and people remember other banks have helped them out. So there's a long way to go for this to be a fully automated process. A lot of our automation is focused on ensuring our operational processes are rock solid. But over the rest of the next year, first half of next year, we're going to roll out user interfaces for them to perform sort of what-if analysis and see how much opportunity there is out there. So we have a long way to go, but right now I'd say we're working very closely to get the banks all on the one multilateral multi-metric run on a regular monthly basis, and particularly going towards year end. You want to get rid of SACA, but you also have got to get GSIB off your book. So what are you going to do? And that's the real issue. You have so many regulations to optimize for. can you do them all? And does one adversely affect the other? And we see a lot more time required to ensure that the results that we've come up with don't adversely affect something else. And I think that's where the challenge is, because banks have limited resource and time to get the results and efficiencies they want from working with capitolers.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Ben, thanks for your time this morning. Ben is on
You're welcome, Colin.
Our panel 3, post-trade, the new innovation hotbed. It's at 12:45 Paris time. And this old front office trader is quite looking forward to talking a bit of post-trade for once. So I look forward to seeing you in Paris, Ben.